Welcome back, NKB. I hope you like all the coach's input with the superhero videos. That was pretty fun. Monday, I'm gonna go into upper and lower split again, very similar to what I did last time. Tuesday, I'm gonna add some more moves to the animal flow, so that should be pretty fun. Wednesday, I've structured all my exercises into 4 basic full body workouts. I'm gonna give you one of those. Thursday, I'm gonna focus more on the mobility and range of motion. And then Friday, I got a little bit of a challenge for you, as well as the full body workout for that day. So for now, let's start with our upper and lower split. All right, let's get started. It's gonna be 3 main exercises, 3 main sets. The first one's gonna be a plank set, second one's gonna be a downward dog set, and then the third set is gonna be the 3 positions that we're gonna turn into swimmer hovers. The first one, 30 seconds of tall plank into a push-up. You can do that 3 times. We all know a tall plank from now. Shoulders are over your hands, body is flat. So you're gonna do 30 seconds of that. Once you're done your 30 seconds, you're gonna lower yourself down onto the ground, and I want you to lift your hands up so you can get the full range of motion from your push-up, and then back up to tall. You are gonna do that set 3 times. 30 seconds of a tall plank, 1 controlled push-up, back up to tall. Next up, doing some downward dogs. I'll show you how to add a shoulder press into it and to make it a little bit more challenging if you want. So what I've done in the past, especially for the shoulder press, when you lower yourself down onto the ground, you could have a little bit of a pad to put your head on. It also tells you how far you want to go in your shoulder press. If you want a little bit more of a challenge, a little bit more range of motion, you can use blocks. And what that does is it just gives you a little bit more room before your head touches where you're going to stop. Yes? For the shoulder press, you don't actually have to stay in your downward dog on the blocks. You can do a downward dog, and then you can shift forward and do your shoulder press there. Downward dog, we all know by now. Hips come up. Legs can stay a little bit soft, so you're trying to get a straight line from your hips to your hands. You're gonna do 3 of those. Once you're done those 3, then you can go into your shoulder press. For your shoulder press, you can either stay where you are right here and try and get your elbows down to the ground, or you can put more weight on your hands and then try and get your head down to the ground. In both of those cases, I want you to try and keep your arms in close to your body instead of going out to the side this way. It's not very strong for your shoulders, and then your wrists are not going to be very stable either. At least then the weight stays over top of your wrist when you press. 3 downward dog, hips up, and then from there into a shoulder press, 3 times in total. blocks if you like, or you can just put your hands down on the floor with the blocks. It's a little bit more range of motion. It's going to be a little bit more weight if you move your feet forward. So play with it a little bit, see how you can make it work, and if you can perform a proper successful rep. Last one, we're going to go through our 3 positions, turning them into swimmer hovers. The swimmer hovers, you keep your arms behind your back as far as you can, and you go through all 3, and you're going to turn your palms and let them touch in behind. So you're going to do this lying down on the ground, up into an I position. You're going to start there. You're going to go out wide to Y. Once you get to about past T, you can start to turn your palms behind, and they will continue to go until you get them in behind your back. Try your best not to let your arms rest after the rep, but if you need to rest for half a second, then you can do so. Try and keep your arms up, and then as you come back through, once you straighten your elbows, you can turn your palms to start then, and then you come all the way back to the starting position, okay? The best way to get through this is to keep your arms up the entire time. If you have to take a rest at certain points, you can. It's either the beginning of the rep or the end of the rep. Let's try it. Do 5 of those. You can do a little bit more if you choose, but 5 will be good enough because then you can just keep consistent muscle tension. All right, for the lower body portion, you're only going to do 3 exercises, and you can decide how many rounds you want to do. First exercise is going to be a squat, second one Romanian deadlift, third one with a lunge. I'm going to show you how to use 2 pieces of equipment depending on which one you have or if you have a personal preference. Mine is going to be the band. I like the resistance that I have at the top of an exercise. The weight is going to be a little bit consistent all the way through. The weight is 17 pounds. It's a fairly light band, so you're not going to get a lot of resistance from that. For the squat and the lunge, I want you to do them as what's called a goblet squat. So holding the dumbbell in front with your hands and then squeezing your forearms together is going to keep your back in a nice position. It's also a little bit nicer on your wrists because then they're not underneath going in a weird angle. Yes? For the squat, feet are a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. From here, I want you to squat down until your elbows are in line with your knees and back up to tall. A little bit wider, squeezing the dumbbell, squat down, back up. Notice my back stays neutral the entire time. For the band, it's going to go underneath your feet, and it's going to go a little bit closer to your heels than it is your foot. That is where the majority of the weight is going to rest in your exercise. From here, you can start in a squat. Band comes over your shoulders, and then it stays in front of your body underneath your feet. You can give yourself just a little bit of room with the band by pulling it out to the side, because my knees are going to go a little bit wider, but that is your personal preference. I'm going to stay with my feet a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. 30 reps of a squat, and go. reps of a squat with the band. It's not going to be an incredible amount of muscle activation, but at least then you'll still be able to work your squat even in this tough time. For the next one, Romanian deadlifts, you can use a band as well, the same way that I just showed you. If you're going to use a dumbbell, I would suggest putting it on the opposite side of the leg that's going to be working. Romanian deadlift, you're not going to let your knee bend too far, and the work comes from your hips. You can use this hand either on your waist or down to your side. It doesn't really matter. It's not really doing a lot of work. Dumbbell is going to be in the opposite hand. You drop that dumbbell down to the ground. Knee stays at a relatively straight angle. The work comes from your hips, and then scoop your hips underneath to finish. For the band, it's going to go around your front foot, and then it's going to go over top your shoulders. So the weight is going to be set a little bit higher, and you're going to get a little bit more resistance from the band at the top of the exercise. This one you can do 15 reps on each side. Ready? Go ahead. Last exercise, it's going to be a lunge. You can hold the weight in front like a goblet squat, like I said before. If you find that to be a little bit tricky, you can hold it a little bit differently. I like to hold it in front because my body's going to stay relatively upright when I'm doing the exercise. If you had a hard time with that, you can also hold the dumbbell just with two hands in front and then have it connected to your chest from there, just as long as you have some extra weight to push down on your legs. For the band, I'll show you one rep of that first. So if you're here at your chest, the back knee is going to move down. The front knee is not going to go past the laces of your shoe or the middle of your foot. Now, with the band, once again, you can put the band on your shoulders this way and then underneath the front foot like you did from before. That's going to put a little bit more weight on the front foot. You can do it a little bit differently where you have a little bit more resistance from the band altogether. If you have the band this way in your hands and you put it underneath your foot, once again close to your heel, you can get a little bit more resistance from that band, especially at the lower part, or sorry, the upper part of your exercise, because there's going to be twice as much resistance from the band. You're still going to do your lunge the same way. You drop down, and then from there, when you come back up, you still have to work with the band underneath. It's a little bit nicer because then it's not around your shoulders, and then you can hold the tension at the top of the exercise. Like I said, my preference is going to be with the band. You can do it with the dumbbell, with it in front. You can have the band over your shoulders, or if you want a little bit of break, you can put the band underneath your feet. Yes? 15 reps on each side of your lunge. When you're ready, that is it for your lower body. You can decide how many sets you want to do. Good luck.